Hello, and welcome to my podcast, Growing Forward Together. My name is Kenita Scripsma, and I am the founder and CEO of SEMA Global Consulting, LLC, and I'm an international speaker and author. We are an organization that is passionate about promoting inclusion through group workshops, leadership development, and transformational coaching for individuals and groups who want to grow forward in healthy ways. For more information on what we do at SGC, please visit our website at www.semaglobalconsulting.com and drop me a note at the contact page. I would love to hear from you, and maybe you might end up on a podcast someday with me. So while you're there, you will have the opportunity to subscribe to my blog as well. So I look forward to hearing from you, and perhaps we can continue a conversation in the future. Well, today's topic is pretty heavy. We are going to be talking about the caste system. And for those who aren't familiar with what that is, it is predominantly in South Asian communities and in countries. And I just have a couple of definitions of what the caste is. So the caste system basically divides Hindus into four major categories: Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras. Many people believe that the groups originated from Brahma, which is the Hindu god of creation. And before I go any further, I just want to say the purpose of doing this podcast today is, one, for education, for people to learn; two, to take a little deeper look at my personal roots as somebody that was born in India; and three, just really share this special guest with you. Our company will be relocating to India, and we are excited to volunteer with the organization that this gentleman runs. And so this gives you a little bigger picture of what goes on within the context and the culture of India. And I just wanted to share that with you today, along with maybe teaching a little bit about what is common in that culture. If you are from the US or other parts of the world and listening to this, maybe caste work doesn't matter to you, but racism does. And both of them have a lot in common. They are both forms of discrimination that target people because of their descent. Now, what's interesting and different about the two of them, the caste system is not color-coded, so it's hard to see. What I mean by that is racism is really about one race, one group of skin color against another, and then systemic issues have come as a result of that. In the caste system, however, everybody's brown. Everybody's born brown that's born in South Asia, and therefore starts into this system, if you will. So the caste is an institutionalized spiritual structure of oppression that affects over 1 billion people across the world. Caste is inherited. At birth, every child inherits his or her ancestors' caste through the Hindu Varna system, which determines their social status and assigns them spiritual purity. The inherited status can determine where you live, what you eat, and who you marry, and even where you can be buried or cremated when you die. This is called the heredity principle, and Hindus believe that it is eternal. The caste system determines access to opportunities for employment and ownership of resources, such as manual scavenging. The euphemistic name for the caste occupation of picking up fecal and other sewage with bare hands, that's the scavenging, is forced into Dalit communities and is still pervasive across South Asia. In addition, Dalits and Adivasis, which are indigenous people of South Asia, experience high rates of caste-based violence and caste-based sexual violence. Now, those are some pretty heavy topics, and we're really not going to get into necessarily the impact of the violence that happens in the country, but we just want to talk more about the friendship between a Brahmin and a Dalit, me coming from the Brahmin caste and eventually converting to Christianity, and my dear friend, Vaibhav Moon, who is the director of Udhar in Nagpur, India, and it's an organization that serves the Dalit folks and other people in the rag pickers community. So without further ado, I would like to introduce to you my special guest, Vaibhav Moon. Like I said, he's the director. Among many other things, he wears many hats and has several accolades that have allowed him the freedom to do the work that he does today. So welcome, Vaibhav.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, you're very welcome. I'm excited to have our conversation today. And, you know, just to kind of add to that, the reason this is called the friendship of a Brahmin and a Dalit is partly because of our heritage, not so much who we are today, but according to cultural and religious design, the two should never mix or associate. So I have had the privilege of getting to know you these last few years, and I'm so excited to hear more about what you'd like to share today about the caste system, about the work that you do, who you are, how does that function within the context of Indian culture, and what else we can learn from you. So take it away and just share with us a little bit about what does this topic mean to you and how it impacts your world today in Nagpur.
First of all, I would like to thank you for having me, and thank you for choosing this very important topic. We have been surrounded with this one subject very much in India, and people are, I mean, they are kind of used to with this topic now, but this is a very important topic, and I just want to thank you.
You're welcome.
The caste system is deeply rooted in our culture, in Indian culture, and I will straight away call it as a evil system because it divides people of our nation. And as you rightly mentioned that there are these hierarchies where there is group of people called Brahmins. They are the superiors, and then comes the Kshatriyas, and then the Vaishyas and the Shudras. So, and as initially as I mentioned, it is so deeply rooted in our culture that it is not being eradicated even after years and years of endeavors of different people working specially to eradicate this caste system. You know, it's so usual that people always ask your surname and try to find out your
Yes.
caste, as yeah, as you were mentioning about skin color. But here in India, people, they ask your name, and if you're not mentioning your surname, they will insist you on mentioning your surname, and then they will find out, and then you will get the treatment accordingly.
Interesting.
So yeah, it naturally affects the elections also. So how
Okay.
deeply it is rooted, that our elections are caste based. The leaders are often given opportunities to contest the election basis their caste and the number of votes that particular caste have in that particular constituency. So basis that, so it is so deeply rooted that our elections and jobs, opportunities, everything comes out of the caste system.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that. You actually are reminding me of some things that I've read in the book Annihilation of Caste by B.R. Ambedkar that you had recommended that we read. And they do talk a lot about that in that book around how people get chosen for position and different things like that. And, you know, that kind of breaks my heart on so many levels, because then that suggests that people don't matter, but their position does.
Correct.
Right. And so I think that you highlight a very important point about what that looks like. So, and is it fair to say that, you know, you work for an organization that does a lot of great, amazing community work, especially during the pandemic, but have you noticed more of an impact on the lower caste groups, if you will, in the disparities? Could you talk a little bit about that?
Can you please clarify your question once again?
Yeah. Do you, so I know this is a bit of a new question that I'm throwing at you because from when we talked, but I'm wondering if, how have you viewed the disparities that have happened in your community that you serve? Udhar serves the rag pickers community. And so the caste system, because of where the people are they experiencing bigger challenges?
Yeah, definitely. Even we saw that when people were, we saw that mass exodus when we were serving during the lockdown in in our country, that if these people would have been from the upper caste, they would have got all the facilities to go back to their respective places. That is one thing. Because they were from the lower caste, they had to, walk and use all the different means to reach back to their different places. That is one. Second thing is, if you come to the rag pickers community in Nagpur, you can see that people are treated as subhuman because of their caste. If you see the roads, if you see the infrastructure, if you see the sanitation and the water facilities, you can't imagine, or you won't believe that you are in Nagpur. You are in the second capital of our state. That area completely looks like amputated from the main city because of that particular caste. So that is there.
Yeah, so that reinforces the divisions, right? And not so much the unifying of people. As somebody that's living in the US currently, we have the pandemic in and of itself has definitely uncovered a lot of disparities and how wide the range is, not just financially, but socially, economically, and also medically, right? So looking at the medical system and the care that people are getting. So I can only imagine how difficult and how, I guess I just use the word disgusting and sad that it is for the folks there in Nagpur. And we've been to Nagpur, it's an absolutely beautiful city. And then to also see the rag pickers community. Can you share a story of, I think if you could share a story of how you, your community kitchen kind of helped build some connection between the classes, if you will.
It was a great opportunity for us to set up that community kitchen. When we saw that mass exodus and a lot of people coming to our city, because Nagpur is at the heart of India. So we used to see a lot of people coming from different states, almost all the states of India, to Nagpur. And when we got the permission to set up our community kitchen, we just started serving. And we saw that people from different classes, from different castes, connecting with us, standing with us, and helping us in that pandemic. So I was thinking that it takes pandemic for people to unify or to come together. Otherwise, doesn't happen normally. But because it is pandemic, because people are afraid, and because they want to associate with someone, they don't even mind, forgetting that caste label and coming on one platform to serve. So we serve irrespective of caste, creed, and religion. We never asked anyone about their names and surnames. We were just serving. So so that was it.
That's great. I remember the pictures that you would send and the updates about what you were doing with the community kitchen. And man, I was thinking, I just want to get on a plane and be over there and serve with you. It was so beautiful and life-giving. And the one thing that really struck me was the smiles on the people's faces, right? People don't just smile automatically unless there's joy in their heart. And so it was so great to see some of those pictures of people that were being served, but then also those that were serving, and bringing people together and unifying them. And I think that just speaks to the heart of people who want to encourage unity and not divisions, right? And so when we talk about the caste system, it's all about divisions instead of focusing on unity. And yet, I'm sure there are many people in those communities, individual caste groups, if you will, that are very giving and do want to help and do want to serve each other. So I love how you even were describing that a variety of groups of people, and religious and political, were all coming together to serve for one cause, which was helping the humans around them to be encouraged and have food and go on their way.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. So, when I was doing some of the reading, the word untouchables kept coming to me, right? In the book, they talk a lot about untouchables, but then it said that was the word for the past, right? Back in the days of the different kings, and maybe a few generations ago was the word untouchables. But then it got translated in Marathi, which is your mother tongue, right? And
Yeah.
in a language that's spoken widely across Nagpur and many parts of India and Maharashtra. And so they changed the word to Dalit, which is a Marathi word for broken
Yeah.
people.
Mm-hmm.
So can you tell me, in your story, like, what does that mean? How does that play out? What does it mean to be a broken people? And how does that connect to your own story? Maybe what made you decide to serve these kinds of communities?
uh, the untouchability sadly still exists in India. There are these are Shudras, and then, as you rightly mentioned, Dalits.
Yep.
They are always considered as untouchables, and there are some jobs that are assigned to these people. Like, suppose if we take an example, manual scavenging
Oh yeah.
is is a reserved job, is given to them for generations to Dalits, and they have been doing it. And I still remember when we were serving at the community kitchen, I used to see a group of people, a group of manual scavengers who used to clean the streets, drainages, and toilets and other things. They used to sit quite far from us every day, and I used to think why they are not coming to us. And then I went and spoke to them, and I requested them to come and eat with us. They said no, we are untouchables, and hence we can't come and eat with you. And I was really shocked, because I did not expect them to say that very in a straightforward way, but they mentioned it very plainly, very easily. And then I told them that no, I don't believe in untouchability. I believe that God has created us in his own image, so you're not untouchable for me. So I want to invite you to please come and have food with us. That really touched their heart.
I
So
bet.
yeah. And the next day, I felt that that the untouchability has impacted their lives and their thoughts so much that they want to continue what they are doing. Actually, they are working for the city, for the beautification of the city. They are cleaning the street and drainages and all the things that people don't want to do, and still they want to carry that identity that they are untouchable. So I asked them, why don't you please come the next day, and we want to wash your feet. We want to serve you, because you have been serving our city for generations. Your generations have served the city, and there is a possibility that you may not have got that recognition, but we want to recognize you. Jesus washed the feet of his disciples, and he has asked us to wash the feet of each other. So we want to do that. And we next day, they did not understand what will actually happen. They just came, group of 20 people. We started washing their feet, and that day I realized that what it means to them. They started crying, and they said that we have not experienced this kind of acceptance and this kind of love in our entire lives. We have been always treated as subhuman, untouchables, and we were not allowed to associate with different people, those who are living in the city. But today, you have not only washed our feet, but hugged us and welcomed us in your own community and in your own family. So that was that is the incidences like this, compels us to serve the untouchables and so-called untouchables and the so-called Dalits. So yeah.
That is so cool. And I know that sounded awful for me to say it like that, but I never get tired of hearing that story. It just is such a beautiful visual of treating other people the way you would want to be treated, right? They have a name that says that they're untouchable, and yet you chose to touch them. And I think, that's what God does for us, right? He shows us that he wants to embrace us and love us. And so I also hear, as you're speaking, these essential work, or the untouchables might sound like essential workers in our world here in the West, right? And perhaps even there, but just thinking about these essential workers, and here in the US, we put signs up saying thank you, and we, cheer for them and are so grateful for the hard work. But when it's put into context, and when I think of the caste system and I think of the untouchables cleaning the streets and, draining the sewers and those kinds of things, it's like, wow, they are seriously essential workers. And you gave such a blessing to them in that work. It's so exciting to hear what's going on. I also appreciated how you said you went to them because they couldn't come to you. And I feel like so many times people just kind of sit back and go, well, they need to do the hard work and get out of what they're doing, or they need to do this, that, or the other, or they just kind of walk by. And yet I think there are many people on this planet that do good, and they want to do good, and they want to go towards those that are less fortunate, or those that are in a space like the caste system, or, are experiencing deep disparities. So I feel like that's something that really shines through your story, that you have such a heart for. And I've gotten to know you quite well over the last few years, you and your wife as well, and your organization. But it's just so thrilling to watch how the very work that you do it's not about what you do, it's about who you are. And I think just the way that you presented yourself to that person who, determined that they are untouchable and they don't deserve being touched, whether it's by the heart or with the hands, right? As you wash their feet. Your character pours out through that, and then you show them that it's not about what you're doing, it's about who you are. And I can only imagine the difficulties or the challenges that people feel in the lower caste groups, where they feel like they don't matter, right? So I love how the work that you're doing focuses in and around letting people know that they matter, right? So what would you say, I guess drives you? Because, kind of wondering where your story started and then how you progressed to where you are today. And this isn't solely about the Udhar work, but it really is a great place or a great platform for you to serve and pour out and kind of challenge the hierarchy, right? So that you matter. So how did you learn that you matter, and then you pass that on to other people?
I was born as a Dalit and in a Dalit family, but then my entire family accepted Jesus as their personal savior, and I also accepted Jesus as my personal savior.
Amen.
And following Jesus gave this whole new identity to me and my family. And I realized that I am a child of the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. I am no lesser than any high caste, so-called high caste people.
Right.
And also I realized that because I am child of God, I am not superior than anyone else. I was a sinner saved by grace when I accepted Jesus as my personal savior. But this whole process impacted my thoughts and my entire personality in a larger way. Now that I am really released from the bondage of the caste system, I help the oppressed, the marginalized, and the people in need from all the caste segment, irrespective of their caste, creed, and religion. And one more thing, I also realize while working with these people groups, those who are oppressed, those who are marginalized, they have been carrying these grudges for years and years. So when we work, when we serve, I realize this very important lesson. I learned this very important, that our battle against the caste system should not lead to further division, but it should lead to reconciliation. All I want to see is reconciliation among different people groups in India now. So what I do, I start with like I said, we wash the feet of the manual scavengers, the Dalits. So in our message, I told them that, so there is a possibility that you must be having a lot of grudges, and all these years because you have been treated as untouchable, and there is a possibility that that you may harbor so much of hatred in your heart. But let's learn to forgive.
Mm.
Let's learn to take that first step in order to reconcile with different people. There is a possibility that people would not realize now, but when we start reciprocating that in that manner, definitely one day people will realize, and they will definitely start recognizing our efforts, that we are in the business of reconciliation. Yeah.
Yeah, and I like the way you said that, because I think a lot of people think that as a Christian, right? Because that's who we are.
Yeah.
That we are only around to convert people. And what you're
Correct.
explicitly saying is, no,
Yeah.
we're not. We are here to love, serve, encourage, and be part of the reconciliation process as much as it depends on us. Right. And I love how what you're doing and saying in that context is you're showing people how much you care before they even care how much you know. Right.
Yeah.
So it's this hands and feet experience and the serving. We said earlier that Dalit means broken people. And so as you've shared your story, I hear broken to redeemed. And so those broken places that have been redeemed in your story with reconciliation, forgiveness, and other things that you've experienced, that you're able to share that with people around you. And what a great work. That's really inspiring. That's really encouraging. And I just, again, we are so thrilled to be part of that with you. So, would you say, I think you've touched on this a little bit, that the caste system still exists in India. Are there a couple of examples on maybe like practical things that maybe you've seen more specifically as of late? There are some things in the book that I read that, showed me how even across the world, we continue to impress on the caste system, and we continue to perpetuate that process. So are there just a couple stories or a couple of ways you've seen it play out in India currently?
Yeah. As we are talking about the caste system and how it still exists in India, which is really very sad. The one way of understanding that fact is, people still marry within their own castes. So when they start looking for proposals, they would emphasize that they want bride or groom from their own caste. Inter-caste marriages are still not welcomed in our society, in our country. If people go for inter-caste marriages, they are not accepted they are not accepted in their own relatives, and then largely in their own communities. So that is one way of understanding that caste system still exists in India. The second thing is,
No, go ahead. I'll wait till you're done.
And the second thing is, the so-called higher caste people don't relate with the lower caste people. That is also another way of understanding it. They will have their own functions. They will have their own programs. They will have their own celebrations. They will not involve the so-called lower caste people. So that is another way. And as I mentioned earlier, that our elections are also caste-based. So yes, caste system still exists in India.
Okay, so I was making a few connections because being a connector is a big part of my own story. It's a strength that I have, and sometimes a curse. But when you were talking about marriages, I see the connection there. My husband is white Dutch American, and I'm East Indian, and so in the West, interracial marriages don't often get appreciated either. And I remember when I first got married, there were a lot of what we call here microaggressions right? To
Wow.
challenge that, oh, let's put Van in front of your maiden name so that you'll fit and be like one of us. Or, well, you've married a Dutch guy now, so now you're Dutch, right? So just messages that continue to suggest that I don't fit and belong because I look so different. And I think that's what you're
Wow.
saying with the caste-based proposals, that a wife or a husband would fit only in a certain way because of their
Correct.
caste, right?
Yeah.
And that just
Yeah.
almost feels like it's something that they can't shake loose. And so it sounds like, it's definitely a space where people need to be encouraged and empowered and equipped well for who they are, not just what they do or how they were born, right? To kind of
Right.
rewrite that narrative. The other connection I
Yes.
made too was you said a lot of people will not include them and not invite them to parties or gatherings, or they just don't, they have a disregard for those that are
Yeah.
outside their caste, and that screams inclusion, right? And you've seen here in the US and across the world really a lot of the work that's being done around diversity and inclusion, and I'm also very passionate about inclusion. And so when I hear that, I'm like, wow, there's another connection of people who aren't willing to include somebody just because of how their story started, right? And that's so sad, because then none of us will learn and none of us will grow forward if we're not being mindful of including folks that are different than us, that have a different voice and a different experience, right?
Right. Right.
And then you
Right.
said with the elections as well, like I think, I don't know, I guess I could take a risk. I'm not really politically minded, but I could take a risk and say, generally speaking, white males, aside from President Obama, white males have generally been in the pipeline of politics. And so we need to change that, right? We need to
Right.
really explore what gifts and talents and skills other people have. We need to empower, equip. We need to kind of fight against those disparities here as well as there. And it sounds like what you're doing is it's showing up in the caste area, caste system, and that's impacting the election as well. So hopefully sometime in this world, we will see more healing and more redemptive work being done instead of
Yeah.
continued brokenness, but I think it's definitely eye-opening. It's definitely intriguing to me as somebody that's living in 2020 and, born 50 years ago. But just
Right.
watching the
Yeah.
progression of all of that, and
Yeah.
seeing how, in terms of understanding my relatives and cousins that I have met over the years, of just, wow, this cultural stuff runs deep, right? So that's why I get really
Yeah.
passionate about and talking
Yeah.
about that. Is there anything else that you'd like to share about the caste system, or maybe even more about Udhar, and just for our listeners to be aware that on the website you'll see my blog, and all the contact information will be on there for Vibhoff, for you to get in touch with him, for you to get in touch with the organization Udhar that works in the rag pickers community in Nagpur. So be sure to check out the website at www.simaglobalconsulting.com. And I just want to let you know that that's where all the links will be for him. But Vibhoff, is there anything else you'd like to add about what Udhar does, or the caste system, or do you feel like we've exhausted this topic for today? Are there some other things that you'd like to add?
I would like to just share that we are working among the rag pickers, as we have already discussed, and these rag pickers are mostly from Dalit communities, migrated from 3 different states of India. So yeah, we are serving them. We are also serving the farmers. Many farmers are committing suicides in our state, which is another issue. And yeah, we are serving them. These are all poor farmers, the marginal farmers, and so they are struggling, and they are under debt. And when they see that there is no hope of coming out of that debt, they end their life. So we are serving them. We are also serving the tribals. We have touched the tribals also in your introduction. So we are serving the children of the tribals, so that they would come in the mainstream. They would get equal opportunities as other people get, and they would come out of that myth that Dalits and tribals are not intelligent people. They are the dumps, or they are only reserved for the work that they do, maybe labor work or scavenging or cleaning. So we just want to break that misconception and myth, and we want to encourage them to come in the mainstream. We want to provide them all the opportunities that are available, and we want to see them flourishing in their lives.
Oh,
Thank
that's
you.
exciting. Yes, absolutely. So, it's a nonprofit organization, correct?
Yeah, it's a non-profit organization.
If somebody's listening today and wants to support your organization, how would they do that? Financially, how would they support your organization?
Yeah, they can go to our website. It is called www.udhar. Udhar is udhhar.org. And in donate option, you can find there are two windows, one for local donors and another one is for the international donors. So you can choose the right option and you can donate us.
Okay. Are there any practical needs that the organization currently has?
We presently, as all of us are going through this pandemic, we have been working a lot on relief work. Next step is rehabilitation, because many migrants have lost their livelihood. So we are providing them with alternative means of livelihood. We are providing them with skill training, and we are helping them in many ways. Recently we had a lot of rain, and the flood has destroyed many houses. So we are constructing houses, repairing houses, and so these are our needs, rehabilitation needs, and we are helping flood affected people. So yeah, I would like to present these needs to the listeners.
Okay. Well, we appreciate that. And I guess it's fair to say that if we have listeners out there that are the praying type, perhaps you can pray for God's provision in that space as well. And maybe you become that provision for Udhar to meet their needs. And so thank you so much, Vaibhav. I've really enjoyed our time together. Just to get to know you better as well and learn more about Udhar. And correct me if I'm wrong, but Udhar means hope, correct?
Udhar means it's like upliftment.
Okay, upliftment, and so lifting up.
Yeah,
encouragement.
Lifting
okay,
up. Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. And this has been a very uplifting time for me as well, getting to know you and having these conversations. And I look forward to further conversations. And hopefully someday soon, we will be able to pack our bags and get on that plane and move to India. Here's hoping that the pandemic stays at bay and continues to, not do the harm that it's been doing. And our prayers are with you and your family as you continue to struggle with some of the dynamics that have happened as of late. And to your wife as well, as she is doing the work that she's doing as a nurse. And we are excited about volunteering with you. We're excited to relocate and live amongst the redeemed people that are experiencing brokenness. And we all experience brokenness in our stories, but just the work that you're doing to help people feel redeemed and help them be more encouraged and uplifted. So thank you again for this time.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you for this enriching conversation. Thank you.
Absolutely. Great. Thanks. So just to sign off, thank you so much for joining us today. I look forward to connecting with anyone that would like to send me a email at the website. Again, that's seemaglobalconsulting.com. Feel free to drop me a note at the contact page. Let's connect. Let's talk more about this topic of the caste system or anything else that was said between Vaibhav and I have been genuinely blessed by his friendship and with his wife as well. And we are so excited to be able to volunteer with Udhar going forward when Seema Global Consulting relocates to India. But we will continue to do work across the globe as we have been doing. And we look forward to hearing from you. So here's to growing forward together and being more unified in the work that we are called to do.